Welcome back to the Made for This group study where we're diving into the book of Daniel. Today we're going to be in chapter 3, and you know chapter 3 is the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego where they find themselves in the fiery furnace there in Babylon. But what I want to look at today in this group study time together is why did they end up in the fiery furnace in the first place? How did this come about? What were the situations and circumstances that ended them there? So I want to read to you chapter 3. We're going to be verse 1 and then also 4 and 5. So it says, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its breadth 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. And going down to verse 4. And the herald proclaimed out loud. There was a herald then that was going to require all the people to worship this image that had been created. It was proclaimed out loud, you are commanded, O peoples, nations, and language, that when you hear the sound of the horn, the pipe, the lyre, the trigon, the harp, the bagpipe, and every kind of music, you are to fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. So if you're reading this chapter and you're reading the book of Daniel all as one story, it might seem a little confusing. Why is Nebuchadnezzar having this image built right here at the beginning of chapter 3? Because in the close of chapter 2 that we looked at last week, Daniel has interpreted this dream, and it seems that Nebuchadnezzar is in awe of Daniel's God. He's in awe of the God of Israel and the one that gave Daniel that vision and was able to interpret it. But then yet here, right away, he immediately forgets that interaction with Daniel and forgets his loyalty to Daniel's God and is setting up this image, this grand idol. And if you kind of read the story, it seems so opulent. There's such grandeur here. And what's happening is he's requiring and demanding all of the people to worship this image he has set up. And so now, this isn't just a matter of religion. What he has done when he has created it to be an edict is now, if you disobey this, it becomes treason. You're going against the king. You're going against an order from the state, from the government. So if you picture this scene when they are being told what's going to cue them to worship this idol, it's so much grandeur, there's so much opulence. You heard all those instruments that were going to be played, all these musicians, it was going to be this grand ordeal. But if you think about this, that's really similar to images and idols that we have in our own culture today. Is that they are so enticing, they are so enthralling, and they are attractive because they engage sometimes so many of your senses. And if you think about this moment, this is something that the whole community of Babylon is doing. Everyone is participating in this. And so to not be a part of this, you're also then kind of losing out on community. You're losing out on this very experiential moment that everyone that you were living in community with would have had. So the question that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego help us answer is, how do we live as the children of God in a culture that continues to raise idols? And in order to answer that question, I want to share with you a story from one of our Northwood members to challenge you and encourage you on what they have experienced and walked through.
I've always known that I wanted to get into fashion design. I just didn't know what that was going to take me. I just knew I really wanted to create something. And so I actually fell into this business shortly after I graduated from fashion design school. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I just knew that that was something that I had interest in. And eventually I got into the industry, started understanding the technicality behind the business, that it was more than just drawing. It was more than just pretty stuff. It was a business. I would say it was probably in the mid-2000s was when I started climbing the ladder and started kind of building a lot of businesses. One of the things that I do is I'm in product development, design product development. I go and sell product. I don't just sell product, I sell ideas. I sell an opportunity to big box retailers. And these ideas and creation creates millions of business across the world. And so I started to learn how to build these relationships, start to learn how to really groom and sell these ideas and opportunities for companies where it's a win-win for both of us. So as I got into this industry, I got really strong and really good at this. This is what I was known for. But as I started to fall into this position, I really started to make it my life. It was what I ate. It was what I drank. Everything around me wasn't as important. My children were young. However, my career was much more important than anything else. Everything that was supposed to be bigger than life was so small to me. To back it up, I actually was born and raised by refugees. And so living in poverty, you don't see these dreams really happening. And I was basically living this dream. And so for me, it was a wow. It was one of those things that my craving for success, my craving for acknowledgement, my craving for money, my craving for the leadership ladder, climbing it up, getting to where I wanted to be. I had kind of set myself up to become CEO by 40. I was just moving up really fast within a 10-year time frame. It started to become an addiction. It started to become so bad that I was finding myself working at home, creating an office space at home to still allow me to come home and see my children, but still work. I was really changing my entire world. My entire world catered around my job, my success, where I was taken as. And it wasn't until I was basically a workaholic. I was the boss lady. I would say it wasn't until 2017 when I got pretty much knocked down. Everything that I thought was what I wanted, everything that I worked so hard for, it was in 2017 when I had a health scare that completely shocked everyone, completely shocked myself, my family, my work, everything. It basically put everything on pause. And for me, particularly what I learned from this, because I was isolated for a little over 30 days, I started to really reflect and take a look at my life. I started to take a look at everything that I was going through. My relationship with God at that time, I felt was good. But as I sat there and reflect, it wasn't good. I made sure to make it to church on Sundays, and that's it. Sunday would be my God day. And I realized that seeing your life right in front of you, seeing the future, seeing what tomorrow is going to be, or hearing that tomorrow may not be there, made me really understand how precious life is. In addition to that, it made me understand that all the things that I thought was important was not important. So I would say within that 30-day isolation, I really started to really be in touch with Him. I really started to learn and understand my relationship with God. I say we because I feel like He was there. I'm sorry. Others would probably look at it as, oh my gosh, she's sick. I can't believe she's stuck there. Whatever it is, but for me, it was a blessing because it really allowed me to really lean in and reflect and see and understand where my faith was, understand where my purpose was, understand the path that He had laid out for me. I would say it was a very ironic situation because it required this health scare, it required this isolation for me to realize that the path I was creating for myself was not really the path He had in mind for me. What He has in store for me is to release myself. I had to learn how to really lean in, truthfully. I had to really lean all the way in and say, just take me and do what you need. And I had submitted myself to God. And I get tearful about this because for me, it's a beautiful experience. So I'm not crying, I'm not tearful because For me, I have really grown my faith in my relationship with God because I have learned to lean in and release and let go. It's a very hard challenge for someone like myself who is so controlling and completely has her plan and her life planned out for the rest of her 10 years. But to be able to submit and give my entire faith and give the entire control and power to Him has been such a great experience. Ultimately, my testimony is really that sometimes we think we're bigger than God. Sometimes we think we're in control. Sometimes we think we know it all. And at the end of the day, we don't. I think submitting and truly giving Him 100% of your faith and letting Him guide you without knowing where He's taking you, it's the best feeling. It truly, He's never failed me, ever failed me. And my experience of now finally knowing and understanding how to just let go has been amazing.
So I hope that story challenged you, but then also hopefully there was pieces of it that resonated with you as well. Because here's the thing, when we are living in a culture that is going in the opposite direction of the kingdom of God, we cannot be surprised that there will be idols and images that will continuously be raised high, and idols that will be there to tempt us and desire our worship. Because here's the thing to know, is that we are men and women who are created to worship. We have been created by a God who put it in us to be worshipful creatures. But here's the thing, everything that we are, all of our desire to worship is satisfied when we worship the one true God. So those temptations to be a part of the crowd, to be enticed and drawn into the lights and the grandeur of the idols of this world will not compare when we put all of our focus and attention on the one true God. This is what we see with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And I want to read to you the words that they say to the king when he says, why aren't you going to worship this idol? Why are you not going to fall down when all this grandeur, all this music plays? And what they say to him, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and He will deliver us out of your hand. Their answer is so succinct and it's so simple, and it almost kind of cuts through all of the big scene and all of the pompous and all of the things that we see in the picture when the idol is to be worshiped. That music and the sound and the crowds and the lights, their simplicity and their conviction to follow and worship only the one true God is so clear and is such a picture of how they were made for this moment, made to be a picture of what it looks like to follow after God and to have all of your satisfaction filled when you worship Him. And that's the same way that we are made for this.